I'm John. I hear that you need to build a spaceship. Now, space is an extraordinarily exciting place, but it's also a dangerous place. There's lots of things that can go wrong, and there aren't many people that can come to your rescue if you get stuck. That means if you're going to travel in space, you need to know a lot about it. You need an expert in spaceflight technology. What you need is an aerospace engineer, and that's me, and maybe you someday too. Now about that spaceship. I like building spaceships, and I know you do too, because space is cool and fun. Now I've designed a few spaceships in my day, and I can tell you that all of them worked, except for one, and that was a fluke, and I don't want to talk about it. Now there are three things that every spaceship needs. It needs to go fast, it needs to be tough, and it needs to hold a lot of air. Here's why it has to go fast. Now this is the whole world, and that's you in that tiny little dot. Now imagine if you had to go not from here to the grocery store, but all the way out to the moon. That's a huge distance. If you were to drive there in your car, it would take you 6 months, and stars and planets are even farther away. You're talking about driving for years, and there's no place to stop and use the bathroom. So to get around this, you need a rocket ship. A basic rocket ship looks just like this. It pushes fire out the back with lots and lots of power. It gives you a lot of force to go fast, way faster than your car, but maybe not as fast as you can run. Now the second thing your spacecraft needs is to be tough. And the reason for that is that in space there are lots of large rocks. Rocks that you can see that are huge, and rocks that you can't see that are super, super tiny. And because your rocket ship is flying so fast, it'll damage the outside of your spacecraft. And your astronauts inside, man, they don't want to get hit with rocks. So you need armor, like a bulletproof vest, all the way around your spacecraft to protect it. Now the third thing your spacecraft needs is air, because in space, there's no air out here. So nobody can breathe. So your astronauts need to be able to have their own air to breathe, which means you need to fill up your spacecraft with a lot of air, and the air can't escape, kind of like a balloon. The only problem is if you spring a leak, that air will go right out the side and ruin your spacecraft. So to make sure your astronauts are safe, you need to make sure that they have air. Now this is complex stuff, and you're going to want to know all about it. And the best way to know everything you need to know is to become an aerospace engineer. Now it's hard, but you can do it. Here's what you'll need. First, you'll need to read a lot of books. Books about math, books about everything, books about flight, books about controls, and even books about gas. Not that kind of gas, but you'll need to read about gas. Anyways, the point is you can design spaceships too. The sky isn't the limit. And one day I may just see you out there in space, my friend. See you later. Here's a little bonus for you, Nick. People say there's no gravity in space, but that's not true. Gravity is what keeps the moon in orbit. Gravity is present between any two objects. So what keeps the satellites up there just floating around, or the space station up there? Well, for that, we need to talk about baseball. And I don't own any baseballs, but this is as close as I can get. Imagine when you're throwing the baseball. It throws in an arc, right? So imagine, Nick, that you're way, way more strong. And you can throw this ball so hard that it doesn't come down very easy. In fact, imagine you could throw it so hard that the curvature of the Earth comes into play. And imagine that you could continue throwing it. And if the Earth was shaped like this, and you were here, that you could throw it so hard that it would fall off the edge of the Earth forever. And if there was no air to slow it down, theoretically, it could keep falling and gravity would keep pushing it back in a slingshot kind of motion where it's always falling over the edge of the Earth. That's called an orbit. And orbits are the reason that satellites and the space station and everything else don't come crashing down, is because they're flying extremely fast horizontally and essentially always falling off the edge of the Earth. So it's not that there's no gravity in space. The astronauts are floating up there not because there's no gravity, but because they're always falling forever. So that feeling you get when you jump off and you're falling, imagine having that permanently because you're always falling. So the last thing I'll say is, as satellites are permanently falling and they are moving extraordinarily fast, if they were to stop in place, they would immediately fall straight down, just like if you were to drop a ball onto the ground. And so that's Lessons in Space with John 101. Always be falling. And also, gas. I don't know what to say.